Okay, look who it is. We got Silicon Secure just in time for Christmas to give everybody their presents, their mental presents that they all need. How are you doing, brother?
I'm doing pretty good now that I've got some Tods blown up behind me, so I'm feeling pretty hyped. Yeah, no, I'm doing good. I had COVID, I had pneumonia, from COVID, and the VV fam gave me more than I expected. So for decon, but just coming out of that, super excited for the holidays and getting some time off. And
Nice.
just just really spend time with family. We're going to be doing all kinds of spaces and giveaways. So yeah, just fun time to be part of the VV family. I had dinner 2 nights ago over at Comics and Crypto's place, and
Woo.
got to hang out with the fam over there, and you know, uh, Metaverse Life, and Kevin and Spencer, and met parents, and like I felt like I was part of the family. So it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that, and I appreciated the invite.
That's so cool that you did that, man. And you also told me that I'm like your number one fan, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, you showed up as my number one fan,
of
so
course.
I had to send you out a gift. Hopefully, you'll get it by Christmas and share with the crew what you got. But yeah, man. I think there was a we were playing around, and there was an app that was telling you, and some of it was kind of funny because I don't think it was all based on truth, but you know who my number one fan was definitely you, and I think there was who your top followers were, stuff like that. So it's just a lot of fun.
Pretty
Um,
cool.
we played around with it a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's 100% accurate, bro. I am your biggest
Yeah,
fan. You're like another NFT pirate up here pretty much. I mean, you helped grow
yeah,
the channel from its inception, so, and we
yeah,
got a
man.
lot of questions, man. We got a lot of questions today. I put out a tweet earlier just saying, "Hey, guess what? I'm gonna have Silicon on." And, people were like they're just loading up the comment box. I got people DMing me, but maybe I kinda pass it over to you and just kinda give everybody, a general view of what your thoughts are right now on the current situation, man.
Yeah, yeah. Let's see. It's an interesting market right now.
Yeah.
We all know the economy is getting squeezed, and Christmas, is squeezing a lot of people. Even with my kids, my wife went shopping, and I'm like, "How much did you spend on toys?" And so, it was just like, okay. And I think that the economy and inflation has been challenging for a lot of people. The Fed is trying to control the out of control inflation pumping, or stuff that they had been doing, money pumping into the system, and so they kind of have to retract a little bit. And there's an impact on that for real people, at the end of the day. And then NFTs are kind of right now still considered a luxury item, or
Mhm.
a um, I would say speculative investment for
Right.
some people. For us early believers, I think we're on board for the whales. You look at like Vivi Fox's channel. She talks
Mm,
about the top 100 wallets. Yes, they are. The amount of accumulation is coming down, but the top 100 wallets are still accumulating, right? So whether
right.
it's coming at a slower pace, I think we're all kind of just waiting to see what happens. But yeah, there's some nice there's some nice prices on the market. There's not a lot of people engaged in the market because they're spending time with family, and they're hanging out. I think we'll see 2023, in the spring, kind of things thaw out as the Fed, doesn't do. I don't expect them to keep doing rate hikes into at least not the middle of 2023.
Right.
I think that has a factor, a mental factor. The amount of cash flow that people have, how they feel, and what they feel they can spend. The market, overall for VV, I think is actually, if you compare it with other markets, which is interesting. So
Mhm.
if you compare it with like, uh, I was talking to a friend about Eternity, for example. There's no liquidity there. Like you can have something on the market for weeks, and the same six things are there, and the
Well,
same, and so as much as they may have great ideas, I think VV is still showing that there is liquidity. I mean, you look at the Batlight drop that sold out. That was cool that I got to participate in.
that was amazing that you did that. Yeah.
You saw the blue and yellow Batman week.
Yeah.
They all sold out. So I think people are just being a little bit more specific about what they want to buy in their collections. You're still seeing people spend 1,000 plus gems, like there was a 888 blue Todd that someone snagged for 1.1K. I mean,
Wow.
that's that's real money, right? Getting spent on this blue tide. So I wasn't able to snag it, but it is what it is. uh, and like people are still spending money in the market, and I think that people are now like more excited probably to find those special mints. We're seeing people that are kind of specializing what they're doing in the market, going
Right.
after the 1 2 3 4s or my 888s. They're not mine, but they're everybody's. But going after these special mints and then speculating on that, and with the VeVe announcement, now that we'll be able to see those mint numbers and we'll be able to kind of like flex that in the VeVe, and now we're going to have this, with Twitter kind of being, Twitter is kind of like falling apart in some ways.
Yeah.
Elon's doing his best, but like the blue check scandal and what's happened there was pretty wild. So I think a lot of people are looking forward to the VVverse and using that as the place they want to hang out at, as David you would say, right? So he wants that to be the third place. It's your home, your work, and the VVverse. So I think the community's here. We're like, let us in. We're trying to get through the gates, and we can't wait to jump in and start taking our investments and displaying them and flexing them and sharing them and doing the things that we like to do, right? So um you know going to decon and just kind of hanging out with the team and going to Disneyland. I got not necessarily special access because anybody could have gone to Disneyland, but I did get close access to the team. And I'm very excited about what their work ethic continues to just, they're grinding hard and they're building the team. We saw a new product manager roll in and doing
Yeah.
cases, which I thought was pretty good. So just like there's a lot going on. Yeah, MCP is getting delayed a few weeks, and they're very sensitive to communicate that, which I thought was nice. But it just gives more people opportunity to accumulate and position in what they want to do. So you see things like Todd still pretty much holding right now 900 to $1,000 range, and to me that's kind of a big marker on the app.
Hmm.
I actually saw him dipping to 900. I'm like, let me just take off my flex listings because I think that has a little psychological. It could have a big psychological impact in the market, even though it's a listing.
Right.
So yeah, I'm excited for where we're going. We're seeing these airdrops that came for the first holders, and special things that happened. So I think VV's starting to really kind of listen and adjust, and you got to pick your battles. What are you going to buy? There's only so many gems.
Man, what a great summary there, Silicon. I mean, I don't even think I need to ask you questions. I could just give you some looks, and I feel like you know where I'm talking about next. So,
Yeah,
on that same note, man, with the VV verse, right? Like, I mean, that's something that you saw. It's something on the way.
yeah,
And my question to you is like, they said they're going to be able to take assets from other, NFT companies or other things and be able to insert them into the VV verse. And, questions that I got were a lot of them are going to be like one of ones and
mhm,
VeVe's gonna have like one of 250s, etc. So, how do you see like scarcity kind of
yeah.
playing out in the VeVe verse? Like, I mean, it was a good question, I thought.
Yeah, I mean, this is a question we get a lot, right? Right, because
Mm,
you look at like the bat cows; they're all one of ones, right? Essentially, even though they're all bat cows, they're all unique.
right.
You look at other generative projects where they have 10,000 or 5,000 or whatever they are, and those are all one of ones. But it's not this IP, right?
Yeah.
It's not Batman. I mean, yes, there's some one-on-one Batman stuff, but in general, the one-on-one on VV stuff is going to like Dr. Profit's wallets and stuff. Like people are spending big money on that stuff. And there's a specialized collector for that. But I think if you're a fan of like Batman or you're a fan of Superman or you're a fan of this major IP, there's just not enough of those NFTs. And even the back cows, in this market, they're holding about a 450 to $500 floor. They're performing pretty well, still above the drop price that, we
Mm,
all paid for 300. And, there's opportunities in the market. So I think that, at the end of the day, so I talked to a friend of mine who's a big Superman fan. He actually has a Superman tattoo on his chest. He's got, he was sending me pictures of like these, comics that he's got and these physical things. And I'm like, dude, you need to get into Vivi and you need to get into, the Palm Project, and start collecting your Superman. And he was blown away by what I showed him.
wow.
And, like nobody knows, right? And that's the thing is, we're still early. The people that know are the people that have been living in this community.
Right.
and we're kind of in a vacuum. And once we get out of that, right, to have the first, Batman NFT
Come
is a
on.
flex. I don't care if there's 7,500 of them.
Yeah.
It's still gonna be a flex, right?
Right.
And even I think the Blue Todd is gonna be a flex, right? Because you look at the physical, that's a $500 piece. You can't find that cheaper than 500 bucks on eBay. And I mean, and you can find it for $170 on the app right now, right? So, I think that, it's just the market conditions, that we're waiting for those new users. We're waiting for the marketing. We're waiting for the push. David, you in the last AMA update had said, "Hey, 2023 Q1, we're gonna go off with a bang." And I think the utility of bringing the VeVeverse home in, and then being able to hire people to design and do stuff,
Mhm.
it's going to get people, spending money. But I think what really is going to get things going here, even in our little community as we grow, is going to be MCP. Is going to be, and when I say MCP, like people ask me, "Oh, do you buy this? Do you buy that?" Like I don't have to worry about like what I'm buying. Like I know I have a lot of MCP points. I don't know
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
many, but I know it's probably going to be a lot. And so, it's more about competing, right? People like to compete. People, it's a natural thing, right? Us whales, you hang around the kind of people you want to hang around with and compete with them. And so that's something, I look at, even in the market in the last, probably couple months, I've invested, 5K additional into my stack, right? And I'll keep doing those kind of things because, I believe in the project, I believe where we're going and where, how significant these NFTs are.
Right.
Now, everything goes through cycles, right? And I still think we're early in the cycle as much as people think like we missed the window. I think that, really what we want is we want the masses in here, right? So VeVe is the only one I'm seeing that really is appealing to the mass market.
Mm.
All the other NFT projects are like with the boys or homies or you know what I'm saying? Like it's
Yeah.
a vacuum that, I would be afraid to tell my grandma to go buy an NFT because like how and
I got you.
what are you gonna do? And your MetaMask, oh, you're gonna get rugged. Oh, someone's gonna say your seed phrase. Oh, don't accept that contract. Like it's real. Like people lose their stuff every day, right? And so, I think with VeVe, I like the fact that it is in custody. Yeah, there's been people that have had issues with their accounts. VeVe is doing their best to avoid, fraud and, they have to deal with, AML rules for money laundering, and they're in the one of the most strictest environments in New Zealand,
Mhm.
for digital goods, and I actually think that's a good thing for us as we're seeing regulation kinda starting to look at crypto and, the whole SBF debacle with FTX and,
Yeah.
the collapse and people losing a lot of money. I think that, being ahead of that curve is gonna be good.
Amazing. And I love the comment that you said too about how early we are Silicon because you said something to me really interesting before we got on here. And you said that, when AI came out initially, people thought there was going to be this massive, hype and hysteria surrounding it, but it took a long time to actually get there. And, Sleep in Comics said something similar to me. Like he started a kind of a internet slash website business back in, whenever that first initiated. And he
Yeah.
was like, "Hey, I can build a website for you." Like, "Oh, but we just want email right now." you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. I mean, and I have to give credit to VV Fox. That's what was from
Yeah.
one of her videos I watched, and she goes into and shout out to VV Fox for bringing some tools for us to be able to watch wallets and be able
I
to do
agree.
take her experience in data analytics and bring it into VV. And I think we need more of that. I think that transparency is important because that's the whole point of the blockchain, right? What are people doing? How are these wallets connected? Who's buying and selling? And so I think, in that cycle, she kind of goes over the AI cycle and says, "Oh, in the 50s or 60s when AI was first invented, they thought it was going to take off then, and it didn't really take off. And now we're seeing like AI art, and
Mhm.
like I think I posted a few tweets where, I'm GTA version of Silicon Secure. I'm a king. So like there's all these things you can do with relative ease, and not just art, but also writing AI
Mm.
is coming into writing and all this stuff. So we're starting to take advantage of that. But that was 60 years later, right? So I think with NFTs, we're in a faster cycle than that, in my opinion. But I still think that we're early in the cycle, and we saw a pump, but it was really a pump of people that were coming and speculating.
Right.
Also people that were maybe some collectors, but not the real collectors that are going to spend money, right?
Yeah.
So we're seeing the kind of the shift already happen. I'm excited about digital NFT toys. So I get a physical and I get a digital. We heard the stories from David Yu about having to push up the comic drops with Marvel because of supply chain issues.
So
Uh,
cool.
I mean, it's happening now, and there's still supply chain issues with physicals. And you talk to, I was in a spaces with Frank Kozik the other day, and he's talking about it with physical toys, right?
Right.
And so, he runs Kid Robot, and so he has a lot of experience around that. And this NFT thing will take off, and the question is, which project will take off, and where are you gonna put your money? And I'm still very excited about having my money in a VeVe. I don't know where else I would put it right now. Like, I wouldn't feel comfortable putting it in just random OpenSea stuff.
Yeah.
I want real IP. I want Batman. I remember watching those movies. I want Spider-Man. I want stuff that, resonates for me when I was a kid, and my kid is, also playing with Batman and Spider-Man, and, it continues, right? And so this is IP that these companies, and Disney, of course, aren't gonna just, like, say, "Oh, let's move into irrelevancy." No, they're staying ahead of the game, right? And that's why
Right.
the Imagineers have been there and all this stuff. So I think we need to have more vision and more patience for what it takes to run a startup, right? Running a startup is not easy work.
No kidding. And one thing I really wanted to ask you, right, is right now we're such a small group of, active users that are still kind of, accumulating in this bear market. And one thing that I keep pondering about is I'm like, I see these deals on the market, Silicon, like something like an Obi-Wan Kenobi FA, first appearance, you know, pretty much top three, maybe top five Star Wars character of all time. And, less than 5,000 editions and it's sitting there for under retail. And I'm going to myself like, okay, if this is another bull market in the next 3-4 years, given the size, I mean, I'm in Chapters today. It's a bookstore. I don't know if you guys have that in the States, but in Canada, that's what we call it. It's
We
like
still have some bookstores left, yeah.
and yeah, and everything there is Obi-Wan. And I'm not saying like that specific character. I mean, there's obviously, Toy Story, there's so many other things, but I'm like, it's almost like there's too small of a community to understand the significance of everything that we have and not enough interest or insight into what this potentially means right now.
Yeah.
And that I find interesting.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. So we have significant IP on the platform. I mean, that alone should tell you, if you zoom back out and remember when we first got Marvel, remember when we first got Star Wars, remember, these things that were like, oh, if we only could get Darth Vader. Well, we got freaking Darth Vader at the app, right?
I know.
And so, like, I think that it's one of those things that, people were expecting lots of people to come rushing in, and some people did, and they speculated, and a lot of bots came
Yeah,
rushing in as well, and wreaked havoc on the VV platform. So I think that, VV had to do some damage control. But in general, right now with the economy, people are still don't understand this, right? And I think where it's going to click for a lot of people, where it's really gonna, they're really gonna see the light here is not the VV verse. It's when we have the technology to bring these things to life in our lives. So,
mm,
think of Apple. I think they're going to take the lead here, along with with Meta now, with the AR VR. So I think AR is really it right now, and I think people need to transition. So, the iPhone has been around for 14, 15 years, whatever it's been. It's a dinosaur now in my pocket. Like, yes, I use it.
right.
But does it feels more like I'm a slave to it than it's helping me. So if I can take that technology and bring that in, and I can wear, if you look at the Qualcomm Snapdragon glasses they came out with, their AR glass kit, they
Yeah.
just released that, not too long ago. So now developers can start developing platforms around it and use that technology. And it looks like a pair of thick glasses, but it's got like 3 or 4 chips in it for AR technology, right? And so I think that, when we see this start implemented, when we start using it, when we start experiencing the magic of it, then people are gonna go, oh, how do I get that Batman? How do I get that thing in
Right.
my life, right? So I think we're just super early, and technology needs to catch up, and they're trying to shrink the tech. The Meta Ray-Ban glasses are pretty dope, where you can, you're wearing technology in your face and you can take pictures and video. I think that's, that's a good entry to get people comfortable with wearing tech. The first, Google Glasses, they didn't gel. People rejected them. They felt like, they were part of the Borg and they were being recorded and watched, and they called them glass holes in San Francisco when I was at, conferences and stuff. So,
Yeah.
it's just a matter of time though, because, once I can change my experience, once I can leverage that, so I can sit across from you and look at you sitting next to me, and we can
Mhm.
play chess and we can hang out as friends because, we're friends. And so like maybe I want to play a game with you. And
Yeah.
once that seems like you're sitting next to me, but you're not, that's where we're headed. It doesn't have to be Ready Player One. Uh,
Right.
that's the dream, but it just has to be close to that, right? It has to be, something that we can kind of connect the dots on.
I love that, man. And one thing I keep seeing too is these avatars like in the metaverse, right? I keep seeing people saying like, maybe it's the VeVe verse or what have you as well to start off, but that's going to be the big moneymaker opportunity because it's going to be like, these really few select avatars that will be almost like a Bugatti Veyron, seeing that in real life.
Yeah.
And, one question that I did put out, I don't know if you saw it, I put it out on Twitter and VeVe responded. I just said, hey, is it possible that some of these VeVe collectibles can, potentially be avatars in the VeVe verse? And I should have framed it better, but it's Twitter, you're limited to characters. I was more what I wanted to say is, can we have a collectible that would basically be able to spawn some kind of skin that you could put over your avatar in the VeVe verse, but you could only get that skin if you actually had that collectible as an example, or something to
Right.
that effect.
Yeah.
And VeVe didn't say no, they didn't say yes, but it was a very generic, like if you can dream it, we could do it kind of thing. And I think that's accurate, right? Like I think that's what's to me coming down the pipeline where you talked about it, Silicon, where you're seeing all this extra utility, you're seeing all these other things happen, from owning these collectibles. It's not just like a real life where it just sits on a shelf.
Yeah, I mean, I think, we were all excited at Decon, right, about the Viviverse and the capabilities of the Viviverse and watching, being able to fly and bring in video, faces into it, into the Viviverse to be able to stream and have
Wow.
streaming parties. So, like I think that, people are easy to forget because, at the end of the day, you're looking at what the market price is, but in reality, the market price doesn't reflect the true price of what we have in our collections. I think it's just the market price, right? And that's kind of how I see it because why would the market value these? You know what I'm saying? Like we're early. We're so early that the market doesn't understand the connection between these NFTs and where
Right.
they're going to be in 3 to 5 years. But we do, and we see that. And so we have to stand up and be pillars in the community, share, and then when we see the technology come together, everyone's gonna be like, "Oh, that's what you were talking about. Oh, I see. Well, I'm gonna go
Mhm.
buy a pair of these because this is amazing, right?" And there's gonna be something, and it's gonna take off. And I think VV is gonna be in the middle of it. So I don't know
Right.
who else right now. I'm looking. Would it be OpenSea? Would it be who else would be in the middle of it right now? And I feel like VeVe, you know, has a lot of things behind it, not just the IP, and years of IP, by the way.
Right.
So they have lots of
5
content.
plus years. That was a year ago. I remember saying that.
Yeah,
So
and I think there's new markets to be open. Here in the U.S., we don't buy as many digital goods as someone like South Korea, right? Or in Asia, they buy a ton of digital goods, a lot more than we do, right?
mm,
And we're seeing, I think, platforms like Roblox and these other platforms where people have already these kids have already been trained to spend money on digital goods, right? And so now, as they get jobs and they come into the world, and the technology kind of connects them together, they're just like okay with it, right? And I think that that just comes at time. But I think what really is gonna, I think spark a fire here is when we see that technology get to the point where it's the iPhone, right? When the iPhone came out, it was revolutionary, and I couldn't even make phone calls on it. Like the network was sucked, but I still got one, right? And it changed the game on phones, right? And Nokia was the giant for a long time. Like you had a Nokia phone, right?
right.
But what Nokia failed to see was that software, and the experience. and the ability to have all these things in your device and to curate that, right? Apple's really good at curating it, and I see VeVe doing the same kind of curation, right? Like where they're curating the VeVe verse and these VeVe worlds that these artists are going to create, and they're not giving us everything that we want because we're not the market, right? We're not the masses. We're
Right.
the speculators. We're the collectors that are early that have been lucky enough to found VeVe. And I
Mm,
think that that everything in good time, right? So, yeah, I'm excited. It's just at the end of the day, it's liquidity, and we talked about this in some of our previous interviews.
true.
Liquidity is super important, and even myself with as many collectibles as I have, Todd was a good liquidity for me, but at this point, I'm not selling any more Todds right now. It's I value him more than 1,000 gems, right? So for me, I'm a buyer at 500 gems. If he goes down to 500, then me and a bunch of people are going to be stacking more Todds, right?
Yeah.
And that's a cycle, right, that comes through. And we've seen these cycles multiple times on BB. So this isn't our first rodeo on BB. And it's been almost 2 years now, coming in March. So I'm just a few months away from 2 years of first discovering VeVe and making my investment. So, yeah, like I said, I'm happy with what's going on. I'm seeing all the things that I need to see. I know other people just they're impatient, and that's fine. That's what gives people opportunities to buy things. So,
Yeah.
it's an opportunity market right now. Can it still go down? Sure, yeah, sure, it can go down all day long. But at the end of the day, when it pops, it's going to pop, and it's going to pop so fast that you're gonna you're gonna be like surprised. And I think Omi also has a
Yeah.
factor here. We haven't really talked about that, but a lot of people that invest in VV invest in Omi, and a lot of people have said, when Omi pop hits this price, I'm going to go buy collectibles. Well, will there be enough collectibles for you to buy that you want to buy, right? And what prices
Right.
will they be at? So it's all here or there, right? And so right now we're just buying and selling with each other. But when the masses come in and you see the real, whales come in and you see, you see some investment here from investment firms, not just individuals. That's what's going to be, what I'm paying attention to, and that comes with the technology. So,
Right.
but VV's in a great place.
Yeah. It's amazing just, reflecting on this year and, seeing people FOMO into a Todd at 14,000 but won't touch it at 900 bucks. And it's just
Yeah,
so interesting how the psychology of it all works because, really now, and the whales know this, is a great, accumulation time and in a smart way. And that's why there's no rush. They're being calculated about it.
yeah,
But it's like, here's these opportunities that we've always wanted and they are here. And we've had these opportunities when we first joined, right? And people are saying, "Oh,
right.
I wish I was as early as you. I wish I had that." And it's like, well, hey, we took the same risk then that essentially people are taking now. Like we didn't know for sure if it was going to take off, but we felt confident. And it's the same way I feel now. And I'm confident we'll get to another cycle, right? So
Yeah.
it's just
I mean, we see it with the
yeah,
cows. The cows is a good example, right? Bought
right.
my cows at $300, right? They pumped up to $900, $1,000 floor, somewhere around there. And people were shoving money in. But now that it's come back down to 400 to $500, people are hesitant, and I'm seeing some dope cows on the floor, and I'm like, okay, interesting. And for me, I have a decent stack, so I'm not, like I need to pick and choose my liquidity. I'm choosing VV right now because, and I may buy some cows, but like there's only so much money to go around, right? So I
Yeah.
need to make more money. I'm in sales. I need to sell stuff, and get commission and do what I need to do. But I'm seeing it from the sell side that people are pinching. You see it right away in sales, right? You see when people like have personal, they bring their personal problems to work, and they're like, oh well, things are tight, and we have a freeze, and we can't buy something right now. We're gonna have to wait till next year. So I'm seeing that right now, and I think that's
Yeah.
just related to the overall environment that the economic environment that we're in.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so funny. And it's so interesting just looking at last year's Christmas
Yeah,
and the how the the table was completely turned and
yeah,
going in you felt the momentum and then that January February period it was just like the top of the roller coaster, right?
yeah,
But I mean I think that's it. When we look at these assets we got to look at what they mean on a global scale. And if you look at anything, and I think this is what we talked about with different collecting principles, is that if you look at anything the first of in a significant category,
Yeah.
They always do really well, especially when it's massive IP like Batman, Superman, etc.
Yeah.
And then now we're going to be in a world of NFTs soon enough.
Right.
And here we are. VeVe's just has so much of it that it's almost like overwhelming. Like, the opportunity almost feels overwhelming because it's like, it's either you're crazy because it's that easy, or you're delusional. You know what I'm trying to say?
Or you're early. And
Or
that's
you're early.
you
Yeah.
were early and, we're like, "Oh, the store sold out. Oh, crap." And things pumped up and people, like you said, were buying Todds at 14,000. And I think that's also good to see that history because, the same thing happened with Bitcoin, the same thing happened with other crypto. So, again, we're a crypto asset in a already speculative market that's already had a big hit,
Yeah.
right? And so money is being sucked out. The whole FTX debacle sucked a lot of money out, right? And well, who's going to be here? It's going to be people that invest in these exchanges and things, so they're going to get hit. But who won? If you look at the tops of each of these cycles, the tops are always higher. So, for example, Todd is chilling around 900. Well, that was his previous high in the last
True.
cycle before this one, right?
Right.
And so you kind of look at, the tops, the bottoms are near the previous tops. That's actually a positive sign. That means that, he's holding his value.
Hmm.
And but at the end of the day, there's a lot of Batmans. There'll be a lot more Batmans to buy, right? And so, some you can't have them all. And the question is where you're going to put your money. And significant first appearances, I think, are something that people agree upon, in general in collecting. That's important. So Todd's kind of like a trifecta of that, where it's the first, VV NFT, it's the
Yeah.
first Batman NFT, it's token number one. I mean, it's a
Right.
very special NFT. Then you have like Spider-Man, right? Where it's like this is the first Marvel NFT. Then you
Yeah.
have
Exactly.
comics, right? Then you have the first, you know, Marvel comic, right? So you can go on and on and on, right? But at the end of the day, the significant IP, things that people love, right? And Batman is a good actually example of that, where you have HRO, you have Funko, you have Palm, and you have VeVe, and probably who knows what
Mhm.
else, where there's actually Batman and DC NFTs. So, and people are buying in all these markets.
Right.
But it's an interesting thing, and I think there's also there was this debate on, well, what's the first real Batman? Some guy made art and put it on Nifty, and and I get it, right? Like, okay, he drew Batman, but what is officially licensed? Like, where are you going to put your money? And so, like, when you buy collectibles, are you going to buy the first knockoff of something,
Yeah.
or are you going to buy the real deal? And people buy the real deal. So, I just think it's opportunity at this point.
Yeah. And especially your comment about like institutional investing as well. Like, where are you going to go? You're going to go with the legitimate sources. You're going to go with the massive companies, etc. And I just find it interesting because, we have so many of these FAs. And now you're seeing FAs come out where, even like America Chavez today,
Yeah,
um, and still hasn't sold out. And I think there's only 1,500 of the ultra rare and 500 of the secret rare. And I'm
yeah.
like, this in a bull would have been 5 grand for the secret rare. And so I think it's just giving your perspective, like people perspective on that, right? What the previous market conditions look like.
Yeah, and to me, that tells me that we're near our bottoms, right?
Yeah,
If you're letting significant FAs go and you're like, okay, whatever, that's usually a sign of, somewhere near the bottom. Can we still go down? I'm sure we could. Does it bother me? No,
yeah,
because I know what the value is and I know where we're headed. So I don't need the market to tell me what the value is, right? Like, I understand it. Now, some people aren't okay with that. Some people want to wait until they see a pump, and that's where you miss the opportunity, right? So if you look at stocks, for example, when the stocks pump, there's only like 5 days out of the year that you need to be in those stocks, right?
true. Yes,
And that's where you have the most pump out of the
Mhm.
stock. And then it may still go up and stuff, but like the thing is, if you miss those windows, then you miss the opportunity. And so it's the same thing I think with VB is, by the time you figure out what's going on, you have the proof you want. Well, so does everybody else. So
True. Yeah, you're already too late at that point. And people always talk about that perfect the cycle conditions, because if you buy in as things are going up, you're buying in as the roller coaster is tracking upwards. So,
yeah,
at a certain point it's going to plateau or it's going to come down. And I forget what that famous quote is, but it's like, the first person that figures something out is the genius, and then it's like the imitator, and then it's the idiot, right? It's kind of like that's the cycle. And so I agree with you, man. I think like right now we're keeping each other warm in the bear market. You're seeing
Yeah,
who's truly believes in the project and who's, sees the long-term vision. And I think there's so many other things that are so exciting, like renting, like the VeVe like the MCP, like the crypto pay in and pay out, like Omida NFT, and all these things they've confirmed that it's going to happen.
yeah.
So what's interesting to you right now? Like what NFTs on the market are you looking at? Are you doing your similar strategy last time where you bought the very popular things with, more additions and they started to yeah,
Yeah, I'm restacking my stacks, right?
yeah,
So, I mean, Todd is still expensive for me right now at 1,000. If he goes to 500, then yeah, I'm gonna drop some money in, right? But probably won't be enough liquid. Like there won't be enough of them at that price, I don't think,
right.
for you know for me to buy, if that makes sense. Maybe a couple if it goes down that low. But yeah, you look at things like you know, restacking my stacks. So I have 170 Spider-Man common now, right? So I've stacked up more on that. I think the VV kind of opened things up with art. So I'm stronger than ever on art pieces. Like Dragon
Mm,
Girl, I think is significant, and people don't even know what that is, right?
that's so
Uh,
true.
Even the comics that have the cool covers. McFarlane, Todd McFarlane has a huge following, right? And these comics that he did, like the Spider-Man comic, they're the first issue, right? And a lot of people remember that as their first, "Oh, I got a number 1," and they bought the collector's edition.
So
Well, people are gonna want that on their Weverse wall. I mean, the art is dope. I mean, so I look at stuff for its face value.
mm,
Is it aesthetically pleasing to me? Do I want it on my walls? Do I like it? Not everything is, significant, right? Not everything is important, but I try to take my art. I have art pieces and I have physical art, and I take that experience to go. What do I like?
mm,
And my instincts have been pretty good. But it's the market is the market. So as things come down, so like on that Spider-Man McFarlane, I think I have over 113 or 15 copies. I don't know of that, and a couple, the variants in that. Um, and just going with things that I think are going to be significant in the future. The blue Todd, I matched 5 blue Todds to 5 of my black and white Todds, digital Todds.
right.
So that was kind of dope, and I think that people are underestimating that. I think the first 1 through 500 are underestimated as well, because that you can only have 500 physicals, and so
Yes.
there's an opportunity there right now in the market to arbitrage that.
Such a good point.
There's different opportunities that if black and white Todd's a flex piece, well then why isn't blue Todd a flex piece? Because it's an extension of him, right? So
Yeah,
in the real world and in the digital world. So I think that right now it's just the market, and people are just kind of walking away, and to me that's a sign of a bottom. Again,
right.
that's a sign of, hey, you've hit a bottom.
Wow. And I love the comment about the VV verse too, because now you got me thinking that maybe these digital collectibles, like these popular, like Captain America and all this stuff, will be cool for points. But if you want somebody to come into your house, I don't know if I want superheroes meeting you at the front door. I probably want Dragon Girl. I want some nice paintings. I want it more casual, and then maybe I have a little shelf with my other collectibles that I want to show off. But I think that's an interesting one because that's universal in a sense as well, like where you're looking for nice decorative pieces and artwork does the job, right? So I think that's something that's going to be really interesting to see what that really means, and how the Vverse again can change the perspective on our intention to buy different assets after that. So
And flexing. So I
yeah,
come into your space, I'm like, "Hey, what do you got? Oh, let me check it out," right? I'm experiencing your collection. Someone comes into my space and they're like, "Okay, what do you got?" Right? And
right.
so it's just flexing back and forth. This competitiveness is a natural thing in humans. We've been doing it since Stone Age, right? It's a natural kind of thing. And that'll come in, and that's the Lambo. Do we forget that that's coming?
Oh my
So
god,
you'll
I
be
keep
flexing
forgetting
with
that.
us.
It's ridiculous.
Racing for pinks. I mean, I don't know. What are we gonna do?
Hmm. Wow. Yeah, man. I mean, I'm excited. I think, I'm really glad that you're on here today because, I get so much negative comments, so many people kind of, reaching out and saying these things. And I'm like, first of all, why are you investing your time bashing me and still being interested in VeVe if you hate the project and you know what I'm trying to
Interesting,
say?
right? Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it
It's
happens a lot on
interesting.
Spaces, man.
Yeah,
Where there's all these people that are flooding the market, but like they're here for the community. It's like, well, I get it. It's good to hear other opinions, but there's
yeah,
a point where it's not productive, right? And so being respectful, understanding the facts and not just saying, because at the end of the day, in any market, even stocks, there's people that are shorting the market. Now, how the fudders or gain, I don't know. I think that at the end of the day, though, they like the community and they want to just attention,
okay,
and so they get their attention, right? And the community eats it up because community likes drama too, and it's like watching flipping the channels. And you're like, oh, let me watch that channel. That's the FUD channel, and it's Jerry Springer, right? There's a reason why Jerry Springer was so successful, um, because people just love to see that pick up a chair and toss it at you kind of stuff.
right.
The way I see it is, it's there's people in the community that need to stand up for what's right. So like when I host a space, I'm not going to allow, I'm going to allow respectful conversation and criticism, right? We had David Yu in our spaces not that
That
long
was
ago.
crazy, I know. Where
And
could you find that video, by the way?
it's a podcast. You can go on Spotify and type
Oh,
Slicky
nice.
here, and it's an 8.5 hour
Oh
podcast.
my god.
But you can go to VV Magic's channel, and she's posted clips of it as well. So you can go kind of get the recap of that. I do have other spaces recordings I haven't published yet, of different conversations that I'll be slowly getting out there. It's just a matter of me, doing the work and getting it done.
Amazing. Well, that's good news on my end because I remember you telling me about this. I know VeVe Magic did some kind of synopsis, I think, of that conversation, but I forgot that you had a podcast. So that's really cool. So, for everybody that wants to, and which is a lot of people, I think it's literally like every single one of my subscribers will then I'll link your podcast in the description so people can find you. And how many episodes are there now? Just a few
There's one
or just
eight and a half
okay,
hour
so just
episode,
one.
but
Yeah.
I've got
Yeah.
archives of spaces that I'm gonna be
Yeah.
publishing, so
Sweet.
I've got, probably 5 or 6 really good conversations that we've had in the community with artists or different things that I'll be posting up, and I'm just kinda filtering through. I have to re-listen to them to just,
Yeah.
like, write down notes and figure out what we were talking about, and some of them do get long, so I'm trying to
Mhm.
do my spaces around a couple of hours, but the cool part about podcasts is you can pause and come back to it whenever you want.
Right. And what licenses do you think are possible for 2023? Do you think this is going to be a pretty tough year? So maybe VeVe's going to kind of still, just keep to their own, keep with the key community members, and maybe a few big licenses will be dropped, or do you think like they're going to come out blazing, and maybe we're going to see like something like Nintendo, or what do you think about that?
It's a good question.
Yeah.
I think that VeVe has licenses in their pocket already that
Right.
we want. Um, I think that they're gonna do it in a way that, for them is how they wanna roll it out,
Right.
regardless of how the market sentiment is or whatever it is. So, David Hughes says this is gonna be a bang for 2023. What does that mean? I don't know. But I think with the VeVe coming out, we're starting to see their plan because they always said this NFTs were secondary to what their plan was, right? And at the end of the
Mhm.
day, David's made it really clear he wants that third place. So work, home, VeVe, right? And so
Yeah.
to get that third place, you have to bring some significant technology. You have to make
Mhm.
some strides. So I feel like the story is still being told. We're really early. So I think we could see some cool major IP. I think that the
Yeah.
Asian market, if we really open that up, um, we're going to see some stuff that we want to see there, right? What's cool about VeVe is it's a platform that anyone can just it's almost turnkey, right? So they have all the technology and they have everything going, and you just work with our artists. You sculpt something, you bring your NFT in, and then they do the work for you. They market it, they sell it,
Right.
and right now, again, it doesn't say beta on the app anymore, but my perspective is we're still beta.
Yeah. I I echo that. it's still not a finished product, really. It's still in the development, and I think it was supposed to be. It was supposed to take a lot longer to get the amount of users that they did, but they had that massive surge early on, which really kind of, you
Yeah.
know, hastened expectations. And so even now, though, we're seeing a lot of new people being hired. I mean, we got Ryan from the Drop that's been hired. We've got, I think, old Rhubarb, who had a VeVe and 3. So there's a lot of you talked about that. Software developer, the manager there that came out and spoke recently. I mean, there's a lot of people that are working on this project. So and some people are getting worried. They're like, oh, what if VeVe goes bankrupt or if they lose their licenses? And this is all, part of the FUD, right? And this is the famous Warren Buffett moment where, when people are fearful, this is time to get greedy. And in the next bull cycle, maybe you're going to sell off a few pieces and not try to buy them at that point.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if VeVe's already had offers from major companies to buy them out.
Right.
And I think this isn't about the money for David and Dan. This is about an Al as well. This is about leaving a legacy behind, like transforming the world. Like, how many opportunities do you have to do that? And so I think that, and David Yu is the ultimate collector, man. This guy, hearing stories about him going to different shows and watching him, even, when we hung out at Disneyland and his collecting style, you know, he understands that psychology, and he's the number one collector on the app. I mean, he's
If not the world.
yeah, yeah, he's it, right? So,
Yeah.
he's passionate. He's got a good eye. He's got a good eye for artists. Stuff that I never thought I would even understand or know about in pop art. Here I am. We're living it.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think we could see some major IP. I think they're going to roll out markets first, which means that, let's say I roll out to China, then I need to have IP that China likes, right? And it may be IP that the world likes.
Yeah.
So I think that some of the more traditional IP, like let's say Nintendo or Pokemon, I think they're selective, right? They're really selective. But if there's a chance uh, of who's going to have it, I think VV is going to have it, right? So and they've been confidently trolling the hell out of us. So to me, that's the confidence and the swagger that the team has
It's true.
behind their trolling tells me everything.
Yeah. I agree. There's been way too many Pokemon tweets where I mean, there's no guarantee, but there's been just way too many confident tweets there,
Yeah.
so
I mean, what? So
yeah.
so so what if we just had a Pokemon poster set? A holiday Pokemon poster set. Would that change the? You know what I'm saying? It doesn't even have to be a collectible. It could just literally be like an IP, right? A Pokemon IP or
Yeah.
something.
And it's crazy because this is where it fascinates me is that we have similar stuff happening with like Star Wars,
Mhm.
where even though it's not Pokemon, it's still 65 billion. It's still 65% of what Pokemon gets from a franchise perspective.
Yeah,
And it's like just dropping casually. Here's Yoda, first time to the blockchain, things like that. And people are just like, oh, whatever. And I'm like, well, man, like, give it 15 years and maybe
yeah.
let's talk about what that means. Right. So that's what's crazy. And it's just, and I feel bad, right? Because there's a lot of people like you and I and my collectibles, but there's just not enough of a market to really inspire that surge or that drive, because there's so many options at this point for the amount of people in the app. There's just too many options,
Well,
right?
we see. So we've already seen the run, right? We've seen one run, but
Yeah.
when you look at, if you look at Amazon, and you zoom out on their stock, that run could have been just a little blip, right? And again,
Mhm.
I'm not saying that everything is going to be valuable, but I'm saying the significant IP will be valuable. So collectibles go through cycles, and at the end of the day, people want those significant pieces, and so it's as as a collector or investor, whatever you want to call yourself, NFT, collector. It's up to you to decide what you think is significant and what you like too. I mean, at the end of the day,
Mhm.
it's like not everything is significant, right? So,
Yeah,
uh,
man. And I have to say this to you because it's so funny. In here in Canada, I don't know if you have this in the States, but there's so many commercials coming out from banks that have this like nerdy 18-year-old kid that goes up to people. It's like, hey, have you heard about NFTs? Right. And they're like laughing, they got grease in their teeth, and the guy's like, ha ha ha, and he's wearing a nice tie or a bow tie, and he's talking to a person that's giving him probably 2 to 3% back a year on his mutual funds, right? And I'm
right.
just thinking to myself, like, man, with NFTs, like I made 100x my money in some things, like this is not some kind of joke. This is not something to be, made fun of. For sure, some people got screwed as well, but like, it's just amazing that these high risks that, presumed to be high risk, quote unquote, end up actually being the best investments. And the people that are more risky and take these more speculative bets with a calculated amount of money are the ones that really do become financially free or have a better dent in their lifestyle. It's not the guys that are doing, $5,000 a year and 1 to 2% interest stocks that make it. I mean, that's a typical, you know what I'm trying to say? You got to be a little bit, I
I
don't
mean, you
know.
could save your whole life, right? But the thing is, with inflation, that money's getting stolen from you, right? So
Exactly.
it's slowly getting scraped away. So even if you're saving, like you're losing. And so I think that the traditional banking systems probably are threatened by crypto and by NFTs and other things like that. And why not kick them while they're down, right? So of course they're going to market that way.
Exactly. And it's just amazing how the masses just, fit right in and go, oh yeah, look at, they don't want to see people win. They don't want to know that these things are as significant as they are. And the crazy part is, going back to that bull cycle, we look at these edition sizes right now
Mhm.
because we're in this bear market and you're like, holy, like that's a lot of it. There's 60,000 Spider-Mans. That's a lot of Spider-Mans. And then it's like, okay, well, again, what if it like 1 billion people are using AR technology? And what if VeVe is one of the major platforms at one point in time where then what does 60,000 look like then, and what does 250 look like?
There's a
And
couple like Saudi princes and people. I mean, because you think about who's flexing in the world, right?
right,
You look at them and they flex by their cars, by their whatever. They're gonna, of course, buy the NFTs. They just again don't know, not aware. Maybe some are, right?
yeah,
But it's an example. Like it doesn't take much here. Dr. Profit's a big player in our space, and he's one guy, right? Um,
yeah,
but imagine like 10 of him, right, or 20 or 30. Um, there's competition, right? And so I think that the big thing right now, there's no liquidity in the market. So
yeah,
I can't get, um, I can't get my money out, right? Or flip it fast enough. But it is funny though, because I talked to Cavell in Spaces not too long ago, and he made some investments. He said he sold his VV NFTs, but he believes in the project. So, he's just right now trying to do some other things. But he told me he sold 2 to 300 collectibles in a week. So, like there's obviously some liquidity in the market, or else you're not going to be selling 2 to 300 collectibles, right?
exactly. And I mean, if you think about that, and I think that's what everybody made fun of him. Oh, you're gonna be losing all this money. He's like, no, I'm still like 20x from where I was. Like he's like, maybe I'm not 100, but he's like, for the relative, proportions of what's happening right now, he's like, I could see this money being better used elsewhere. So I think,
Yeah.
good for him, right?
I bought 125 Todds at $80. So,
Yeah.
Todd at $1,000, 900 or 800, it doesn't bother me, right?
Yeah, exactly. And if it gets to $80, I mean, geez, I think you and I could probably take care of all of them, just the two
Yeah.
of us.
We'll figure it
So
out. Yeah. I'll give you a call.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I might have to take out a line of credit, but I could still be there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
It's another cycle. It's an opportunity.
Yeah.
And the crypto whales have seen this. I've made some friends in the community, like Grubba. Um,
You guys are close, man. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, we're tight, and he knows the game, he understands,
Yeah.
and so this is one of the games we play, right? It's not our whole life. Some people are trying to like make a living off of this. Like some maybe some did, but this is you need to do your day job and then wait
Yeah.
for your stuff to appreciate. But if you would have told me that I would have had a collection, with a floor value, and this isn't even my collector value, just floor value of $250,000 today, or 200 grand or whatever it is, I would have been like, oh, you're crazy. But
Here we are.
we're in a bear market, and so,
Yeah.
and that can 10x from here, 5x or 3x or whatever. And I'm okay because I'm patient. So whether, it happens in the next couple of years or it takes 5 or 10 years, I know that we're getting there because it just
Yeah.
it's going to happen.
Yeah, it's inevitable because the technology is all moving that way, right? I mean, even at my work now, like I think I told you, but I work in a hospital. Like even now, they're like, for a lot of different things, blockchain technology for confidentiality reasons, for the security, for data security, for privacy. Like there's just so many things where it's logical in almost every which way. And I mean, even now I'm even seeing different charities like set up NFT projects as funding opportunities, and like what I mean. Like it's just Trump launched a friggin' NFT project,
Yeah,
By the
his did really well.
yeah, what's it at right now? Is it still a half an ETH floor? Because I think it
I haven't been tracking it, but I
Yeah,
mean,
same.
it's again, there's liquidity in the market and people are willing to buy. It's just, the marketing and the cycle and the,
Yeah,
economics. So I think, at the end of the day, what's the easiest product to be onboarded with? Well, VeVe. It's pretty easy, right?
yeah,
You download an app, you get KYC'd, and you're in. So
right.
I don't, I see that and I'm like, this is where I'm putting my eggs because, maybe they come in, maybe they don't know they want a Todd, maybe they want something else, but maybe they eventually will want a Todd, right? So, or
Yeah,
whatever, something I have. It doesn't have to be Todd. I have a lot of things, but it's at the end of the day, like that's what I'm betting on. I'm betting
yeah,
on VV being successful here and seeing their passion and looking at the community, the experiences that I'm having, right? And people pay a lot of money for experiences, right? And that's
yeah,
the thing is experience, like not the actual asset itself, it's the experience that it gives you. Like I'm in
right.
the back cave. I'm in my, you know, um, as part of the back house project. Did you watch those archives of the back cow? Like so DC has archives of videos, so behind the scenes, the
Yeah,
back
I
house.
saw some of them. Pretty amazing.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah,
the cars and the cows and
yeah,
so that's an experience, right? People get that as part of it. And so imagine having that in the VVverse and having that kind of experience or having that, with your NFTs in a way with AR, right? Like it doesn't take much imagination to understand where we're headed and then looking at where the investments are. Like, Meta spent quite a bit of money and yeah, they're losing money. This is just, it's a 15-year cycle for them. It's not like a
right,
short cycle. They're
right.
making investments. You look at HP when they wanted to go after the switch market, they had a 15-year plan to, sell switches for cheap and they took a lot of, um, they took a lot of air from Cisco and were able to go after it. So these big companies spend billions. They're not going to walk away from their investments.
Yeah,
Like to me that strengthens it. And so, like I said, I'm sure VV's had many offers, or at least a couple, to just buy them out right now. And I'm sure they were 9, 10 figure offers probably. I don't know. But, I think that, the fact that they are still in control and are running things to me is a positive sign because they understand the same thing. The value hasn't been arrived yet. Like we're not even close to, doing what we're gonna do here.
yeah. And you could see it with their confidence, and that's why some of these influencers that have left early, and I'm like, they're like, "Oh, I wish I got sent this collectible, or I wish this happened, or I wish I was more of an affiliate program." I'm like, man, like the opportunity is still now. Like I think VV's just like, hey, we don't really need to do something like this because you're just lucky that you're a part of this and you're interested because
Yeah.
we see the full picture. But listen, man, I know we're both busy guys, and we've been
Yeah.
chatting for just under an hour. And listen, man, like I said, you're a big part of the reason why I love doing content. I think having you on my channel the first time, I think we had like a video that had 30,000 views, if you believe it or not,
Wow.
back in the day, and I
Yeah.
think I gained. I think it was like just under 2,000 subscribers from one video. So
Yeah.
yeah. So like I said, this is your channel as much as it is mine, and it's always
Appreciate it. Thanks for
yeah,
having me on again. I mean, we'll continue the conversation here.
yeah,
I'm
man.
not walking away at all, like, far from it.
Amazing. Yeah, so we'll see you soon. And for everybody here, happy holidays to you guys. Make sure to check out Silicon's Spotify account there. We're gonna link it in the description.
Yeah, if you
And
just go to my Twitter account, I have a link tree, and then you can click on that and just see, my OpenSea collection or my, podcast locations or whatever. So go ahead and check it out. And I'm stuck as Santa Claus because of this whole Twitter Blue debacle. So I'm waiting for my Twitter Blue subscription to expire so I can change my PFP. So it's a weird place to be. I kind of wish I could keep my Twitter Blue because I could do longer videos, but it is what it
yeah,
is.
I know. Elon's as much as I love him, I leave it at that, I guess.
Yeah,
But
I can't change my PFP, so I'm Santa Claus forever. So
that's okay. You bring joy to everybody.
yeah.
All right, man. Thank you so much. Okay.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay. See you in
Merry Christmas.
2023,
Happy
brother.
holidays, everybody. Happy New Year.
You too.
All right. Take care.
See you, buddy.